Oh my, at long last, the saga has come to a conclusion. Damian Lillard has been traded, which means we
have an early trade to announce.
That's right. We got to sound the horn. Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. What? How is this possible? I love this league, Keith. No one was talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. We were talking about the Raptors maybe getting in on this, and suddenly Damian Lillard is going to the Milwaukee Bucks. I was hoping this would be some kind of great surprise, some major swerve. I was not expecting in my wildest dreams that this was going to be the deal.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's play the other drop one last time. It might be the last time.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah,
kind of sad. The final
episode.
Show, the series finale.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Oh, the season finale here, Dames of Our Lives. The saga comes to an end, and Damian Lillard goes to the Milwaukee Bucks. Keith, I guess let's just break down the overall deal. This is obviously from Shams Charania. We've got Damian Lillard going to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Blazers pick up Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, a 2029 first-round pick. They also get draft pick swaps in 2028 and 2030. Then the Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. So 3-team trade, the Suns, the Bucks, the Blazers. This ended up, we had a feeling this was going to be a multi-player deal, like a big deal. There's a lot of players involved in this trade.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-player deal. 3 draft picks, so 11 things changing hands here. Everything looks like it's pretty legal and locked in with what it looks like right there. There's nothing that screams to me that there's any of the touch rules not being satisfied in a multi-team trade or anything like that. So Bobby Marks aptly tweeted, and we'll get into it eventually, but like what happens with Drew Holiday, right? It's kind of a incomplete right now on the Portland side because Drew Holiday very unlikely to be there with that. So I mean, I guess we start with Dame to the Bucks, right? That seems the logical place to start this discussion. And Giannis said, "You got to do something, right, to keep me happy and keep me wanting to stay here in Milwaukee." And is this enough to do that? I mean, it's obviously a super duper star, but I'm already seeing a lot of people say, is Damian Lillard really that big of an upgrade over Drew Holiday for what the Bucks need? I don't know. That's probably a pretty fair question. I tend to think he's an upgrade, very different player, an upgrade. They're going to change styles a little bit with him. But, yeah, I think it's definitely an offensive upgrade.
It's an upgrade. Yeah, offensively, big time. You're going to rely a little bit more on Giannis defensively in order to get things done. And obviously, he is an all-world defender. He is a defensive player of the year caliber guy. But you're going to have to rely on him even more to kind of shut things down on that end of the floor, because we know Damian Lillard is nowhere near the caliber of defensive player that Drew Holiday is. But then again, Dame brings so much on the offensive end of the floor. We know that Giannis was looking for some type of change. This is definitely a big splashy move. If Dame was 25, we'd be saying, yes, this is definitely the long-term. Obviously, this move isn't getting done if Dame is 25, but but I mean, Dame is getting up there in years, so who knows? A few years from now, is Giannis still feeling the same way? But obviously, this is the type of move that that Giannis was looking for. I would be shocked if the Bucks did this without consulting with Giannis and getting his stamp of approval. And so they make what ends up being kind of the big splash move of, I guess it's not summer anymore, but of the offseason, right? This is an incredible deal, an incredible move for them to make, a big move for them to make. But this is a team that lost in the first round of the playoffs that was not supposed to.
It
as the
wasn't
one
even
seed.
particularly close first round series
No.
either.
So they had to make a move here, and they wind up going out and getting Damian Lillard. I mean, you got to give it to the Bucks, right? Like, there's no way Giannis can say, "Well, you guys didn't do enough." The Bucks have done. They've spent when they needed to spend. They've gone out and made moves when they needed to. They've done everything Giannis has wanted them to do. I would have to imagine. It wouldn't shock me now if we start hearing talks about that Giannis extension come back up again.
Yeah, that's definitely we'll see, right? Does that become a thing? Just in case anybody wants to see what the salary sheets look like, our wizards over at Spot Track, it's already the team multi-year pages already updated with the guys that are moving on. No, the trade is not official just yet, but we go ahead and process them, knowing that it's coming. So yeah, so we're already updated on those are already up and posted over there on Spot Track if anybody wants to look at those. So yeah, all right, so let's go to Giannis. Is he gonna extend now? We'll see, right? Does this become a thing where he wants to be, with the Bucks long term? Is this enough? I kind of think maybe he still holds off, and says just to keep that pressure on, right? Just of the, hey, this isn't enough. Like, we gotta keep doing and doing and doing. So maybe he plays out the rest of this year, next summer, but maybe this was enough, and maybe he does lock in and go. And there it is. There's my guy. Pulls it right up. There it is. You can see Damian Lillard. There he is, right on the Spot Track roster now. So big money committed for Milwaukee through the next several years to those few guys there with those guys. Yeah, I mean, we're right there.
That is big money being committed to them. Now, they had Grayson Allen in their starting lineup quite a bit this last season. What do you think? Because we're going to talk about, of course, the stylistic difference between Drew Holiday and Damian, which they're polar opposites essentially, right? But you're also sacrificing some depth if you're Milwaukee. So what happens to their starting five at this point? Assuming it's Middleton, it's Brook Lopez, it's Giannis, it's Dame. Is it Pat Connaughton that just slides back into that starting spot, or what do we see happen here?
Yeah, so you can go a couple different ways, right? They traded essentially their starting backcourt in Holiday and Allen in this deal. So Dame obviously plugs in at point guard. So yeah, do you go with Pat Connaughton? Do you move Chris Middleton, who's played a lot at the 2 in his career? I think he's probably more of a 3 than a 2 now, just given he's a little slower with the injuries and the like that he's had. But do you move him down and start Jay Crowder at the 3? Do you move Pat Connaughton in and you just kind of play, with him in the starting group? My guess is, just for balance purposes, probably Pat Connaughton. And then don't forget, they signed Malik Beasley to a minimum deal. I know,
correct.
The Lakers fans that are in the chat are going to feel a certain kind of way about Malik Beasley because he wasn't very good for the Lakers, but he had been good everywhere prior to that. So I think that was just, a fit thing. Maybe Malik Beasley isn't that great when the lights shine the brightest. Maybe that is something we'll find out here, presumably, if this trade goes the way Milwaukee wants. But he's another depth guy that they're going to have. So traded a little bit from a position of strength here. One question I still have, which is the same question I had with Drew Holiday, team still doesn't have a backup point guard. So, where are we going with that? If Damian Lillard might miss some time, right? He tends to be a guy who gets nicked up and, might miss, somewhere between 15, 20, 25 games. If that happens, where do you go at the point guard position? But they freed up a roster spot. So maybe, Ish Smith, somebody like that. Maybe there's a minor trade they make for somebody else that comes in, just kind of plug them in there and just kind of go. Cause they're, in effect, backup point guard was Grayson Allen. Because that was the role he had played. So that's, one minor question, but yeah, I mean, they're pretty loaded in Milwaukee.
Okay, so before we move on, because we need to head over to Portland, obviously, to look at the other side of this, and then we'll get to the Suns. But did the Bucks get better?
I think so. I think so. I don't think they changed their floor at all with this. I think their floor is exactly what it was prior to this trade, but I think maybe their ceiling's a little higher, which is a little more confidence they get to and can win the NBA Finals. I think I think Damian Lillard is an upgrade for what they needed offensively on that team, because where they have fallen short the last couple of years against Miami and against the Celtics, if those teams could build a wall against Giannis is always going to get his, but if you're really making him work, and if you can kind of lock into Chris Middleton, they just didn't have enough offensive creation. They're going to be really tough to stop offensively now with Damian Lillard in the fold. So I do think they're a better team today than they were before, just because, I like Dame, and that's with all due respect to Drew Holiday. I just think for what they needed, where they're going, I think, this is a pretty big upgrade.
I have questions about the defensive side of the ball. I think they took a step back there, of course, and that's why definitely. I would lean Pat Connaughton over Malik Beasley in the starting lineup for the Bucks, despite the 3-point shooting that Beasley could be. But Pat Connaughton can shoot the hell out of the three as well. But nonetheless, I do think they got better. I think they're more dangerous at this point. You're not going to see as many offensive slumps out of this team because Dame, we all know, he can go nuclear in an instant. All right, let's jump over to the Blazers side, because this is the team that, Keith, we've been saying for weeks now. And by the way, guys, we will get to your questions and comments that are coming in the chat once we get through all of kind of the nitty gritty here of these trades. But and speaking of which, thank you for joining us, of course. And got a lot of people in here. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Front Office channel. Just hit that subscribe button. You guys know we're here for you, breaking everything down all season long. So let's look at the Blazers side of this. They get Drew Holiday, who we'll talk about in a minute, not going to stay in Portland, sounds like, which makes a lot of sense. And so that's why we almost have to grade this as kind of an incomplete, because it's whatever they're going to get for Drew Holiday that we have to factor into this too. But DeAndre Ayton, who we've heard the Blazers are high on. You've got Kamara, you've got a first-round pick and a couple of pick swaps coming in. So this begs the question, Keith, did the Blazers get enough?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right? They clearly value DeAndre Ayton, and I think differently than a lot of other teams had. They were rumored to want to make a run at him when he was a restricted free agent. Were they going to go that way? That's something that they were looking at doing. They got 2 first-round picks, swaps. We'll see. My guess is those swaps probably won't come in to play, but 2028 and 2030 are a long way off. So maybe they do. We don't know what any of these teams will be by that point. Toumani Camara, fine. He's an upside guy. To me, the answer to did they get enough all hinges on what happens with Drew Holiday. Yeah. What do they turn Drew Holiday into? If they can turn him into more picks, another young asset that really fits, then I think they probably did get enough, considering we had heard the market for Damian Lillard wasn't what it was. Because of the new CBA, you're just not going to see, very likely, teams making the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert trades where it is, here's every first round pick we can give you and all those things. Because when that happens, we're just going to be in a spot where then you have no way to build out your roster except for minimum deals, and that's just not going to be where teams are going to want to be. So it becomes a very, very tricky thing as we evaluate these trades.
I think you're right in your assessment on waiting to see for the Drew Holiday trade, because that's a big piece of right now. I look at this and I look at this Blazers roster, which here it is again via Spot Track as presently constructed. I think DeAndre Ayton is the biggest asset that you got in the trade so far, right? Drew Holiday, I'm not even I'm counting him as kind of being in limbo right now, right? So of the pieces that are not Drew Holiday that they got, DeAndre Ayton is the most valuable thing that you got in this deal. But there's more coming. Drew Holiday is going to get turned into other stuff. And so what that stuff is going to be really interesting to see. I would imagine Portland's phone is ringing right now. Teams around the NBA are calling and saying, hey, let's talk Drew Holiday. Obviously, the clock is ticking. Media day for most teams coming up on Monday. I would be surprised to see Drew Holiday start the year with the Blazers. I think he's going to get rerouted pretty quickly here, which is part of the reason why, by the way, just in terms of how this all goes down, this could ultimately get submitted to the NBA as like a 4-team trade, a 5-team trade. Once Drew Holiday gets rerouted somewhere else, this could get all combined into a bigger deal by the time it's already, submitted to the league. But I think Portland did okay here. Now we know this is a franchise that's loved having their bigs, right? You think about Bill Walton back in the day. Of course, things didn't work out with Greg Oden. Do things work out better here with DeAndre Ayton? I'll have to admit, I'm a little disappointed in that I really thought Frank Vogel was the coach to get the best out of DeAndre Ayton. And not saying that's not going to happen with Billups in Portland, but I thought that DeAndre Ayton was going to get a new lease on life with the Suns. And I wanted to see what Frank Vogel could do with him there. But now he'll wind up becoming the backbone of this Portland rebuild. And Ayton, let's face it, didn't want to stay with Phoenix anyway last summer when he wound up trying to go to Indiana, and the Suns said no in like 3 minutes and matched that offer. And now here he is. He gets to move on and gets a fresh start up in Portland. And this is a team that I don't expect them to be very good, but they're going to look to bounce back a bit from the Dame era.
Do me a favor, refresh that page real quick.
Because it's got Grayson Allen. I just saw it.
Allen. They
just
tagged him to the wrong team, so that's already been fixed. So there we go. And part of why I wanted you to do that refresh, leave it right. Actually, scroll it up and take Drew Holiday off, because he's not gonna be a part of this. Other way.
That way.
Yeah, there we go. Right there. Look at that. Every single guy's under age 30 now on this Portland, and that's it. There's the new Portland Trailblazers. And even Jeremy Grant, we'll see. We'll see if he's going to be there long term or not. But we got Ayton, Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp, Chris Murray. That may be at some point the Trailblazers' new starting five that they build around. With that group of guys there. Matisse Thybulle, obviously, he's going to be in the mix. They match that offer sheet, I think, because twofold. One, extremely reasonable offer sheet. Why not match it, retain him as a trade asset, and go from there? But also, he's the best defender on this roster, and it's not even close with that. So there it is, right? And then now factor in whatever happens with Drew Holiday. We're already starting to get some buzz of maybe Philly's jumping in to get Drew Holiday, in a 3-teamer that's back to Philly. With that, exactly. Back to Philly for Drew Holiday. So, I think that is, something that we're going to have to factor in as well. But if we stay focused on the Blazers for the moment, I kind of like this group. They're not going to be good. They're going to be awful this season, but I kind of like this group because I think a lot of these guys, you can build with them together with the contracts that they're on, with their ages. I think the Blazers are in good shape for 2-3 years down the line.
It's on the surface, it's a little bit underwhelming what they got in return, but it depends on greatly on DeAndre Ayton, who's a very polarizing player. What's your opinion of him? And then what do they get for Drew Holiday? So let's talk for a second about that. Drew Holiday, to put his contract back up on the screen here, $36.8 million this season, has a player option for $39.4 million for next season. Where does he go? Who goes after Drew Holiday at that price tag? We know right now Portland is probably beginning those discussions.
Sure, yeah. Now, I would think if we looked at it, if I was Miami, I would at least make the call. Right? He'd be a great fit.
We need to talk about Miami, but they lost 2 starters and now did not get Dame. And they floated out there, we're fine, even if we don't get Dame, we're good. Sure. No, you're not. No, you lost 2 starters and you didn't get the guy that you let them go in order to pursue. You need to do something. I think Miami, you're 100% right. Miami needs to be on the phone to Portland, say, hey, let bygones be bygones. It didn't work out, but let's talk Drew Holiday.
Yeah, so what you start to wonder is, right, could they do something where you send Drew, let's just talk Miami specifically with this one. Holiday goes to Miami, Hero goes to third team X, and then third team provides value back to Portland in terms of young players and picks. You could maybe see something like that come together. I think that is a place there. I just want to reference this because I've seen this asked by several people in the chat. Damian Lillard backed off the whole, by all accounts, I'm not going to report anywhere stuff, because I think the NBA basically said, hey, you better knock it off or there's going to be a problem. here. And I think also the fact that teams and players and all this stuff can be fined and all that. I think they're in a place where he was gonna report. And it's not like they sent him to, no offense, but they didn't send him to, the rebuilding, Houston Rockets or Detroit
Sure.
Pistons here. Like he was sent to a team that is a top tier title contention. He said fairly recently too, he'd love to play with Giannis. So, there's that too. So I don't think there's any worry about him going there. I think once the Miami stuff looked like it wasn't happening, I think he started to change his tune.
Yeah.
Back to Holiday, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with what you said there. Yes, we'll continue.
So I think, do we see something happen with Drew Holiday and the Heat? Philly is being mentioned as Philly would like to have him because if you're Philly, this doesn't necessarily mess up your long-term cap space plans, or maybe you just love Drew Holiday, which the 76ers loved him when they traded him the first time around. It was just, they were like, hey, we're going to be awful, so let's get something for him. So do you trade, Drew Holiday out somewhere? So that becomes like a thing there where he goes to Philly. Then Philly sends, Harden to the Clippers, maybe, and the Clippers send stuff to the Blazers. That could be something that we could see come together. What's tough is all this stuff needs to kind of sort it's been misrepresented that media day is a real deadline. It isn't. No. It's very much a fake one, but you kind of want to have things in place, not so much for media day, but for your coaching staff, so that when they open the first training camp practice, they know what they're opening the training camp practice with, and they go. And where I believe it was Woj was the first one to report after this trade that the Trailblazers are going to remain engaged on finding another home for Drew Holiday. And I may be paraphrasing there.
No, you're right.
That to me says there's already stuff in the works. Like they know, hey, this isn't for him to be here. Let's get that fixed. Let's kind of get something moving. So we'll see. With that one, I'm gonna guess we never see Drew Holiday in a Portland Trailblazers uniform from this deal.
Yeah. I mean, we're not like Carmelo Anthony is going to spend more time with the Atlanta Hawks than Drew Holiday spends with the Portland Trailblazers.
Hey, Rasheed Wallace got one game in with the Hawks. Remember that?
That's true. That's true.
Glorious game when he got traded there.
He got one. Yeah, I should have said because he played one game. So this with Drew, I think I'm a big fan of Drew Holiday. Maybe I'm a sucker for defense first guards, but he does a tremendous job on both sides of the ball. I think he would be a big addition to any team. I think Miami, while publicly they can't say it, they should be desperate trying to get Drew Holiday right now. Again, not crazy, but they should be very aggressive doing what they can to potentially get him, because that would go a long way towards fixing this situation that they now find themselves in. I wonder if the Clippers are a team that could go after Drew Holiday. They've been in connection with the whole James Harden situation. Would they be willing to part with the pieces that they wouldn't for Harden in order to get Holiday? I mean, we already saw the Clippers, the Blazers give players to the Clippers for nothing, essentially, a couple of seasons ago. So that there's a history there. But Keith, the team that pops into my head first, and I don't like it because it's a Western Conference team. Danny Ainge, pick up the phone. Could you? But he doesn't fit the timeline. But my goodness, that Utah team, if you put Drew Holiday on this team, ooh, that could get really interesting real fast.
I kind of wonder, could they be the third team in and they come away with Tyler Hero? We talked about it.
Yes.
The team that likes Tyler Hero, do they come away there? And that's a good addition for them too. And I'm not saying Hero's as good as Holiday because he's not, but here's the big thing with Drew Holiday. If you're acquiring him, you probably have to feel pretty confident you're going to keep him because that player option does loom kind of large. So you'd really want to either be in a place where, hey, can we get an extension done? Or, does it make more sense to carry it out to free agency? It really doesn't. There's no real difference there, but that's going to be something that I think will be very, very interested to see, where does he go? And is that followed immediately by T-Max signing Drew Holiday to, a 3 or 4 year extension on top of that. So that would be a thing that I think would come. And, so you got to be kind of cautious of that part of it, unless you were, championship or bust type team. Acquiring Holiday just, off the cuff doesn't probably make a ton of sense, but we'll see. I mean, he is, very, very good player. One of the best defensive guards in the entire NBA still at this point in his career. And comes with the added benefit. He can play on and off ball because he's got enough size, enough creation ability, and he's a good enough shooter that he can do, both with that. So I think that is a key as well if a team wants to acquire him.
All right, let's jump to the third team in this trade, and that is the Phoenix Suns. They move DeAndre Ayton, and they wind up getting, more players than I think they can actually roster. But Yusuf Nurkic, they get Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, Grayson Allen. I'll pull up the spot track cap sheet now for the Phoenix Suns.
Some of these guys are not going to stick.
No,
that's some of the guys they signed over the summer because it's just now they have too many guaranteed contracts. I think I'll count it up while you're doing that, but they're well past the guaranteed number.
So we've been talking about this, though, Keith, for the bulk of the summer. We've been talking about now that the Suns have DeAndre, they've got Bradley Beal, they've got Kevin Durant, you've got Devin Booker. What your weakness on this team is depth, and that maybe you could turn DeAndre Ayton into 2 or 3 players who aren't as good as Ayton, but are at least rotation level players. And so that helps you round out your roster. Do you think they accomplished that in this trade?
Yes, because I think Nurkic, we talked about this a little bit before, where Nurkic you're kind of trading a little bit of defense for offense. Not that Ayton's an all defense level guy,
but he's more
Nurkic
mobile than Nurkic.
Nurkic is. That's not really what he does. He really has to play in like an extreme drop coverage now at this point in his career, but that's probably fine. Offensively, good screen setter, good passer. You added another good passer to this mix here. He does have a little bit of range, so that should open up the floor a little bit to work for some of these guys here that they have. So, yeah, and then you get Grayson Allen and Nasir Little, who Allen for sure could be a rotation guy, and Little could be a rotation guy. But what's sneaky, that's now 15 plus million in matching salary for something later. So you broke Ayton's contract up. So when the Suns get deeper into the year and they're like, boy, you know what, this whole no point guard thing isn't really working out, we need to go. Because really what they was the 4 max guys, Durant, Beal, Booker, and Ayton, and then all minimum guys. Yeah. Now you're in a spot where it is, hey, we have 15 million in matching salary that we can send out and go get something. So right. We'll see, how that comes together down the line. But for right now, yeah, I think for Ayton, who was questionable to be in the mix, and a rookie who, quite frankly, we don't know anything what he's going to be, a second round rookie. Yeah, they didn't give up any picks or anything, and they got, at least a few rotation guys for right now, and maybe more down the line.
Now, big picture, the former number 1 overall pick, and this is what he ultimately turned into. That's a little bit underwhelming when you look at it from that perspective, but obviously we're living in a different world than we were just a few hours ago, right? Like, sure. This is the reality is they've got a team that needs to win right now. You've got a Kevin Durant that is 35. You've got Bradley Beal, who's 30, has his share of injury issues, right? So they're in a position where they need guys that can help them win right now. And I think Grayson Allen can do that. You also mentioned the fact that they don't really have a true point guard. Grayson Allen, while not a traditional point guard, he at least can act as a ball handler to a degree, or a ball mover, if nothing else. Eric Gordon, kind of view him as he can be a plug and play Eric Gordon in sets, where you can run a set and say, hey, this is Eric Gordon's job in it. Hey, when it's off the bench, we're running that set. Grayson Allen, you're stepping into that similar role. And so you can ask him to do that. Again, you're still short that traditional point guard, but nonetheless, you are at least having another guy who is a little more comfortable with the ball in his hands in a creation role. So you've got that as well that you're getting. Again, I'm disappointed that we're not going to get to see DeAndre Ayton, who is certainly more mobile than Nurkic, to see what Frank Vogel was going to get to do with him. But Nurkic, if healthy, this is another player now that the Suns have where we have to put that big question mark. If healthy, I think is a good player. I think is actually underrated in today's NBA. He can be a force, I think, for the Suns team. And so it's a worthwhile gamble, but I can't help but looking back big picture and going, man, all the promise DeAndre Ayton had, and he turned into Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen.
Yeah. Hey, in this year, Little and
Sure. Yeah.
Keon
I
Johnson
should
too.
not
Come on
slight
now.
those guys.
Let's be nice. No, but yeah, I get what you're saying. This is exactly this is a disappointing return because of his draft status, right?
Yeah.
For the Suns is you got a role playing center who's got to be 30, I think, this season. Then you got a backup spot starting level guard, a backup wing. And we'll kind of see. I have my doubts Keon Johnson even makes this team, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that'll happen. I added it up. The Suns have 17 fully guaranteed deals now, so they're gonna have to do some, or I guess Ish Wainwright's deal may not be fully guaranteed, but we're at a point where the Suns are gonna have to do some roster maneuvering here to do something. So that tells me, hey, we might not be done. Yeah, right. With Phoenix, maybe there's something else to come with them trade wise, but we're gonna see. It was interesting too. I noted this the other day. Phoenix, Portland, they hadn't filled out their rosters. They hadn't gotten their camp guys and all this. And this is why they're able to take back 3-4 players
Mm-hmm.
in these unbalanced trades, because that's another thing why this was. I never bought that the Lillard thing would carry into the regular season, because when you're doing a trade that's this unbalanced, you have to do it kind of now. So to take advantage of the 21 players you can roster in the
Right.
summer. And we're seeing Portland to some extent do that. Definitely Phoenix is with that. So that's another part of it here. Yeah, it didn't fully jump out at me until I started looking at the cap sheet. And I was like, man, there it is. There's 15 plus million in tradable salary that the Suns didn't have before. And that's, Grayson Allen's on an expiring deal. And Nasir Little, even if you're not a Nasir Little fan, he's well worth, a contract that's essentially the equivalent of the taxpayer mid-level now. So
Yeah.
that's just good work to have that. Even Nurkic, you threw him in. You've created ways to break up trade without having to trade someone DeAndre Ayton with $35 million salary.
The challenge being that you have to find teams that like those players, though, because you don't have much in terms of draft capital to grease the wheels on a trade,
or just somebody wants to get off a guy who makes 15 million over the next 3 years.
Yes.
That they don't want, right? And that'll pop up throughout the course of the season too.
Exactly. Okay, let me get into some of our chat questions here. Let's get into some of that now that we've kind of gone through the whole trade. Carl said, how do we get Holiday in a Lakers jersey? Well, you know how you can do those like creative jersey things where you can put whatever name you want on the back of a jersey? You could do that. But short of that, there's just, we've talked about this a lot over in the Lakers in lieu of the Buddy Hield fallout. The Lakers just don't have anybody that they can trade right now under CBA rules, unless you want to go crazy and trade LeBron or something like that. You can't trade all the guys who just signed contracts. Post December 15th, that changes, but I don't expect Drew Holiday to be on the Blazers next week, let alone by December 15th. So
yeah, I'm with you on that one. My quick answer would be, if you want to get a Holiday, is trade for Justin or Aaron. That's probably
there you
Holiday
go.
in a Lakers jersey.
Listen to a Weezer album. You could do that as well.
Love it.
Mario said Miami must be in shambles right now. I mean, if Raptors fans were getting keyed up about, maybe because there were a lot of rumors about that. But if you're the Raptors, you're like, okay, well, we're right back where we were before, and bummer. But man, if you're like Miami, really went out to the point where you let Max Strus, you let Gabe Vincent go, knowing you were pursuing Dame and you were going to need all this flexibility and all this stuff, and then to not get him. I'm not going to say Miami is just, oh, that's it. Miami's done. Everything is ruined. It's Pat Riley. It's the Heat. They find ways, right? I'm not counting them out by any means, but this is a blow to the Heat. And let's see how they pivot. Again, if I'm Miami, I'm talking up the Blazers right now about Drew and seeing what I can do there.
Yeah, outwardly, and I do believe they have some belief of we're going to be okay. I do believe the Heat are not an organization that's going to do something with putting all of their eggs in one basket. They did not build their roster believing we must come away with Damian Lillard or our entire offseason is a failure. Like they're just not how the Heat operate. They're too smart for that. So I think, yeah, they're probably a little bit like, and to lose them to a conference rival, that's also tough there.
Yeah.
But I think they're looking at it and saying, hey, like we very much, I think with Max Strus, I think it was, we have Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. We can't pay another guy 15 plus million. So that is what it is. Gabe Vincent, that one stings to me. I said that when they let him go for 10 million earlier anyway. Like that was an exceedingly fair deal that I thought they should have just, not. He wasn't a restricted free agent, so he couldn't match that way, but they should have came to him and said like, hey, what if we do 11 or 12? Like, where are we going with this? And, just kind of go from there. So I think that part is, that's the tricky one, but I think they're going to look at it and say, hey, we have enough to be pretty good, right? We can still be a pretty good team. And I'm guessing the other answer is, let's see, before we get too crazy, we're not done, right? Let's see where else we go and what else we do with this. But yeah, I mean, this is tough, especially the fact, again, that he went to a conference rival. Toronto, I think what for Toronto is, it just screams, it feels like it's another missed opportunity to do something. Something
decisive.
Yeah,
something
exactly.
that will point you in one direction or another.
Yeah. Because now it feels like we're in the same spot with Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby going to be, unrestricted free agents after the summer, and who knows what it looks like in Toronto long term. And that's, I don't know. I don't feel great about where the Raptors are at right now, because I feel like we're very, very much stuck in the middle on this. And yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I am seeing Jimmy Butler was on Instagram saying something about tampering, but I think he's probably having some fun, is my guess. Jimmy Butler is the kind of guy who likes to, do some, a little bit of teasing and put there if he can.
He said something about tampering.
Yeah, it's something about the Bucks were tampering with Drew Holiday. So
okay,
yeah.
All right. Davion Nelson said Lowry, Jovic, and a first for Drew. I'm not 100% sure the math works on that. It's got to be close though.
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
I think that'd be close enough.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're Portland, because then Lowry, you're just going to wind up probably
turning around
out, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right. So then, but Jovic, I like that. That's an addition. Then get a first. As far as D'Lo, Gabe, and Max Christie for Drew after December 15th. Again, I don't think Drew's going to be with the Blazers past next week.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
So it's not going to be. I don't see that being something that's available. Oh, he also throws out for your Celtics, Keith, Brogdon, Horford, a first, and a couple of seconds for Drew. Did you go that far?
I mean, I don't think that's something Boston will do. I don't think they're going to trade Al Horford again. I think they'd look to do that a different way if they could. They'd probably be more like Brogdon, Peyton Pritchard, matching salary, maybe even add a second first if they wanted to go that way versus giving up Horford, because you're really eating into the front court depth on a team where now your two primary bigs are Rob Williams and Kristaps Porzingis. And if you can confidently tell me those two guys are going to play 65 games this season each, I would like to know where your crystal ball is hidden, because I have a few other questions to
Let's talk lottery numbers.
Well. Yeah, exactly. So that I don't know that they would do it that way. But yeah, I mean, maybe they could go in that direction, but I tend to think that's probably not how this is going to go down.
All right. Alex Ammerling said Ayton is an upgrade over Nurkic. I think agree with
Portland,
that.
Yes. I think for Phoenix, it's questionable. I do think Ayton, what I worry about is Nurkic is a major offensive upgrade. How much more offense does that team need? You already have Durant and Booker and Beal. Like, what? It's not like you say, well, Nurkic can do this, and now all of a sudden they're going to average 140 points per game. Like, that's not going to happen. So I don't know how much he boosts it there. Whereas I think if Frank Vogel could have got DeAndre Ayton fully bought in, and I fully recognize that's a major if, then you get Ayton kind of in a place where, hey, you're going to do the defense and the rebounding. Well, we'll run a handful of plays to get you post-ups against mismatches or lobs at the rim or whatever it is, each game to kind of keep you involved on that end. So I think maybe, that could be where, where you see the upgrade from. And I think for Portland, just the age, Portland's in a position now where their cap sheet's clean enough that you can have Ayton's deal on there. It's not a problem to have him in there. And I think he just fits, with the rest of that crew. That was the one place where they kind of didn't have anything beyond Nurkic locked in that was even really interesting. And we're going to find out, by the end of this year, if Ayton's not very near a 2010 guy, it's probably never going to happen, because this should be the year he ought to be able to pull that off, just given where he's at with Portland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get plenty of touches in Portland. He's going to get plenty of opportunities there, certainly more than he would have in Phoenix. Phoenix was going to ask him to do more of a limited role because, of course, Kevin Durant's going to shoot. Of course, Booker's going to shoot. Of course, Beal's going to shoot. And that can be challenging for a young player, particularly one as talented as Ayton, to be in just a kind of a, catch and finish role and set screens and rebound and block shots at the rim and do those things. Maybe he wants to spread his wings a little bit more, but I don't know. I look at this and I think Ayton, he's an upgrade for Portland, certainly over Nurkic, but I don't know that the Suns, unless teams really start picking on Nurkic's lack of speed, whereas Ayton is probably a little bit quicker, I don't know that the Suns got significantly weaker at the center position as long as Nurkic can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Based on what the role is going to be.
That's it, right? And I think, too, it is kind of funny now Drew Eubanks is back to being Yusuf Nurkic's backup after being
That's right.
Portland. But, I mean, that's kind of – I think you've got – I'm going to call it 40 minutes of solid center play between those two, because I think you're probably closing sort of small some nights, maybe even KD at the 5 in some lineups potentially, pending where it goes. And I don't know. I just now believe – I don't think that Suns roster is done. I think we're going to get a couple more things coming. Not saying right now, but by the trade deadline, I think we'll see them, readdress whatever needs pop up, because I think they've got some tradable salary to be able to do so now.
Yeah. Oh man, Keith, this was a day where literally you and I were texting about, do we just do kind of a media day primer today? Like there's not much going on. We're still kind of waiting for the Damian Lillard thing to break. And then boom, there it goes. And there was the trade. I've been jumping for days. Like we've been getting all these camp deals and stuff that have been coming across the Twitter timelines. And I just keep jumping and like thinking, oh, this is it. No. Oh, this is it. And then suddenly it was really it. And it still surprised me. I was not expecting Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks, but here we are, Keith, the NBA, this league keeps giving, I talked to, this is kind of ironic. Literally yesterday, there was and I won't name names, but I was having a brief conversation with somebody in NBA media, and they said, finally, we're getting to the end of the worst offseason ever. And I said, the worst offseason ever? Why was this such a bad offseason? They said, because nothing happened. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought a decent amount of stuff happened, but I get it. We didn't have like the big flashy stuff. So I need to reach back out and say, how about now?
Yeah, right.
How are we feeling now?
I could see feeling it was the worst offseason ever because it never ended. I mean, we're, training camps are opening up and we're still doing this stuff. So I think that's the kind of, funny part of that. I want to give two quick shout outs. One, just a fun one. You texted me right as the tweets were coming in. My phone's blowing up. I'm in my car. So shout out to my wife for texting me, literally saying, do you need to come home? Because I don't know how she saw it, but she saw that a big trade had happened. And she said, come home and, I'll go do school pickup. And I was only like 5 minutes down the road. So that worked out. So now we're here rather than an hour from now. But also, if folks haven't seen it, and there's a tweet, it's on my timeline. You can find it very easily. It's been shared by a lot of other people. The guys who do no dunks and do they used to be Basketball Jones and then the starters, and now they're No Dunks. Tass Mellis, who's one of the hosts of No Dunks, really good basketball mind. It's a great show. I love it. They have a lot of fun. I think a lot of what we try to do with having it fun and keeping it light has been modeled after kind of the way they've handled things a little bit with their show. Is Tass was hit by a car, unfortunately, and he's in the hospital. So Trey Kirby, one of the other co-hosts of the show, set up a GoFundMe for Tass and his family. And then he very clearly lays out any money that they don't need that will be donated to a charity of their choosing. So if you have an opportunity, go, check that out, donate if you're able to help out. Just a really great guy, with them, and just a really great show. So we want to shout out and send a little bit of love to those guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously very, very tough situation there. So definitely check that out. I also reposted that, I guess. So I keep wanting to say retweeted, but
Yeah,
you can check that out on my timeline as well.
Retweeted.
So speaking of tweeting, Damian Lillard
Yes.
just tweeted, said, and I'll just quote it, said, "The casuals won't be addressed, but the Trailblazers fans and city of Portland that I love truly will be, and they will be addressed truthfully. Stay tuned, excited for the next chapter," and then tagged the Bucks.
Yeah.
So there's something coming
was
from
holding
Damian
out hope,
Lillard.
it wasn't done. It's
right.
That's as done. Somebody just asked in the chat, Blazers plus or minus 40 wins, but this year minus.
Oh yeah, smash the under
5-ish in that range. Teams, pretty rare that teams win under 20 games now, but I would say toward 25-ish there, probably on the top end with that.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
I think that about wraps things up for this emergency episode of the Front Office Show. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well over here on the Front Office Show YouTube channel. We try to keep you guys up to date on everything going on in the world of the NBA, and always fun when we get big news like this. Once again, Damian Lillard traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. And Keith, this time it didn't happen at 2 a.m. like the
I know that was nice. Hey, and like you said, shout out. I mean, we had like 2,700 people or something in here at one point. So I mean, and it's only 3:30 on the East Coast here. So thanks for checking in and hanging out with us as we break this down. And obviously, we'll come back as we learn more details if this trade is expanded or whatever. But thanks for hanging out. We always love hanging out with you guys. And doing these live shows.
That's right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Until next time, see ya and stay safe.